The truth is, what I have planned for tonight is something I wanted to do earlier, but we happen to have very convenient and good timing. Uh, we're going to be talking about some alternate Splatoon weapon kits. Uh, I had wanted to do this, and then today they dropped uh, the version 2.0 Splatoon 3 trailer. So that's cool. We're just gonna be talking about you know, some of these weapon kits that I personally came up with, and why I think they ought to be in the game because I do not have a capture card right now, and I thought I would celebrate, I guess, this 2.0 stuff by talking about all this. Let's see. We should actually put on music again. There we go. All right. So this is the first weapon I came up with. It's not actually, but for the sake of this, yes, it is. I want Bamboozler to have an actual goddamn sub weapon again. I'm not about this auto bomb propaganda, okay? It needs something to paint like around it, near its feet, help it get in. It needs something that isn't goddamn auto bomb. And of course, with my personal bias, having played a lot of Bamboozler 14 Mark III, I want it to have Fizzy Bomb again. There's a strong argument to be made for, you know, Burst Bomb and Curling Bomb. But while I was making these kits, I realized I can't really use Burst Bomb or Tenna Missiles. Those are like the rules, okay? No Burst Bombs, no Tenna Missiles. Why? Because Burst Bombs... The purpose of Burst Bombs in any weapons kit is to shore up the weaknesses of the main weapon. That's like what Burst Bombs do. So it feels kind of unfair to give a weapon Burst Bombs in a hypothetical, like, kit, unless it really, really needs Burst Bombs to function well, like Carbon Roller and Splatana Stamper, right? So I made that rule. No Burst Bombs. That's cheating. But let's actually talk about the weapon on screen, right? Fizzy Bomb helps Bamboo do a few things. It helps it paint in a capacity away from itself, which it normally cannot. It helps it paint its feet. It helps it get in because of the paint trail it leaves behind. And it also does chip damage, which Bamboo can follow up on. In Splatoon 2, this didn't work as well as it sort of seems to be intended to. I think it's just because, you know, in Splatoon 2, there were far more shooters that were very mobile. They could just get around Fizzy Bomb pressure. But it's clear from how well Sloshing Machine is doing that Fizzy Bombs are pretty damn oppressive. They're at the very least better in this game alone, you know, aside from how it pairs with Bamboo. And I chose to give it Big Bubbler because I think Big Bubbler would it would be able to help Bamboo maintain its spot, just like Fizzy Bomb. It's sort of a callback to how Bubbles in Splatoon 2 would help it either play defensively or use a wall to push in. Now, granted, you're not able to push in as aggressively with Big Bubbler, but I think taking away the wishy-washiness of Bubbles being this sort of hybrid offensive-defensive special really helps this thing lock down areas better. You know, it can stay in its spot, use Fizzy Bombs, get picks with Bamboo's, you know, decent range, and use Bubblers either for itself or to support its team. I really like this kit. I'm satisfied with it, and it actually took some time to think of. Now, you're going to notice there's no points per special because I don't know the balance of those sorts of things. It would probably have to be decently high just because Fizzy Bomb helps get specials so fast. But yeah, that's my idea for what Bamboozler Mark III should look like in Splatoon 3. Now, I have purposefully obscured the bottom of the screen so that you cannot see what comes next. I have 3 more weapon kits I wanted to propose. And the one I think I wanted and have explicitly asked for the most is an Inkbrush with ink mines. I really, really want to have another Inkbrush with ink mines. Me personally, I play defensively. Just generally, I like to maintain certain areas and keep enemies out from them. That's just how I like to play the game. So when I found Inkbrush Nouveau in, or is it Nouveau? Yeah, I'm gonna say Nouveau. When I found Inkbrush Nouveau in Splatoon 2, I liked that you could place ink mines to help maintain like paint control and then get out. Ink mine helps you maintain paint control, and Baller helped you escape when things were getting hairy, or it helped you make a push for your team by using the explosion. And it's the weakness of using the explosion on Baller is typically that you could get like camped out of it, right? But then you could use Inkbrush's mobility to get away. So what I've been trying to do with this set, right, is similar idea with the ink mines, right? Basically the same philosophy. Plus Crab Tank, so that instead of using Baller to flee, which Inkbrush is already really good at fleeing, you can use it to stand your ground even harder, right? So instead of running away with Baller, you could stand your ground with Crab Tank. And it can be this Inkbrush which locks down small corners of the map and like is impossible to kill because of its mobility. I really struggled to come up with a special that would go with this, and I think Crab Tank works the best. It also helps Inkbrush solve its range problems that it would normally have with not having a proper bomb and instead having Ink Mine. So yeah, that's my proposal for Inkbrush Nouveau. Sorry. I should point out that even though these are, you know, brand and weapon combinations that are returning, I decided to redesign how the weapon looks, because I've always been of the belief that you should be able to look at a weapon that an Inkling is holding and easily be able to tell what it can do to you, which, you know, weapon kits can switch up drastically what a weapon can do to you. And I drew all these before the 2.0 trailer, and it seems to me that they are going with this direction of maintaining sort of clarity between weapon kits, and I'm so glad that they did that. I decided Inkbrush Nouveau should have red streaks along certain parts of its, you know, blue handle, and it should have gray, almost sort of metallic bristles, so that you have the big bristles sticking out that you can tell the difference between, and you also have the bright pinkish red that you can easily spot. So, you know, hopefully that's enough for it to stand out. Hey, editing tapout here. Thought I'd give some quick notes on Inkbrush Nouveau now that I've been playing with it for 3 days. I am decently satisfied with its actual kit, being ink mines and Ultra Stamp. I definitely think Ultra Stamp tries to lean into the sort of aggression that Baller went for in Splatoon 2, but I still uphold that either Crab Tank or some other defensive special, like maybe even Tacticooler, would have been more efficient for the weapon, especially because Ultra Stamp is just kind of bad. And it's not that useful against ranged opponents, which can really easily pick off Inkbrush Nouveau if it is just running and has no defense other than trying to use good movement to get out of charger sightlines. After playing against Inkbrush Nouveau for a few days now, it's actually pretty easy to tell just by the bristle colors if you're playing against an Inkbrush or an Inkbrush Nouveau, and I'm really glad that they've decided to go this route with giving alternate weapon kits really distinct looks. Overall though, I'm still very satisfied with Inkbrush Nouveau, and I'm glad we got it this early into the game's lifespan. Next up, we have something I'm actually really proud of. This is the Ember's Splatana Wiper. I've only made weapon kits for weapons I feel like I have any authority on. I had ideas for like a 52 gal kit and a jet squelcher kit, but I don't play those weapons enough to really feel like I understand how they work and how the main weapon can work with a new sub and special. But for Splatana Wiper, oh boy, I have been playing so much Splatana Wiper all throughout Splatoon 3, and its kit has some problems. I think there's no argument on that fact. So I thought, okay, what could work better than the two things it has right now and have similar purposes? Splat Bomb can help get kills in the same sorts of scenarios that Torpedo would help you combo with your main weapon to get a kill. So it makes more sense to just have a Splat Bomb instead of a Torpedo, which costs a similar amount of ink. And if you really wanted the Splat Bombs to be as cheap as a Torpedo might be, you know, the Splatana Wiper is thankfully not very gear dependent at all, so you could just run a bunch of Sub-Saver and some last-ditch effort. Now, the thing that is absolutely in need of changing is the Ultra Stamp. Ultra Stamp is terrible in Splatoon 3, and it's no secret that Splatana Wiper isn't that great with it. It just doesn't synergize very well. I think Killer Whale would serve a far better combo with Splatana Wiper because it would be able to fill the same niche of harassing ranged opponents if you wanted to target your Killer Whale entirely on them, and you could rush in with Killer Whale targeting multiple people to help win, you know, more engagements than Splatana Wiper is used to winning. Splatana Wiper typically doesn't try to engage in one-on-one combat. It tries to engage in group fights and help them out with its chip damage from Torpedo and its paint and, you know, just a whole bunch of things. But this kit is supposed to make Splatana Wiper a lot more independent at the cost of maybe some, like, burst damage from Ultra Stamp and some long-range harassment from Torpedo. It certainly gets special a lot less often, but when your special is as bad as Ultra Hammer, you'll take what you can get, right? Also, I just thought it was neat to put the embers on the little bendy part of the Splatana Wiper, because it looks kind of like the bendy part of the Splatana Wiper the logo does. I'm really proud of how this one came out, even if it is unintentionally. It may or may not be the existing Inkbrush kit, but I only realized that after I made it, so you can't say I'm not original. You can't say it. And finally, the last kit. You should have seen this coming. If you know me at all, here it is. The baby. There she is. My beloved. I've thought about her so often, so much. It's important to understand that I've been playing this weapon practically as long as I've been playing Splatoon, and because of how bad it was in Splatoon 2, I have formed a sort of Stockholm syndrome, and now I am absolutely in love with Explosher and will not part with it until I die. Custom Explosher. I really hope that there's another color of Explosher, because honestly, Explosher is kind of an ugly green color. I thought about making this one orange, and then I thought it would go better with the custom logo to make it a light blue. So now we have this pretty little blue Explosher. I wanted to give Explosher a different sort of playstyle with a kit. And then I thought and I said, you can't really stray too far from what Explosher is good at before it just becomes shit and the main weapon becomes a hindrance, right? So what does Explosher do? It harasses enemies which cannot harass it back because it is outside of the enemy's line of sight. That is what Explosher does. It also helps with paint control with teammates. It helps with chip damage. And yeah, Explosher is this weird backliner. It tracks the people it's hitting with point sensor. And it uses Inkstorm to help refill its ink tank as well as support its team with paint and special pressure, right? So Explosher does all these things, right? And that's why it's a good weapon. But what if we specialized it away from painting a bit and more into combat and supporting its teammates with chip damage? Now we have Custom Explosher. Toxic Mist can help control areas in the same sort of way a point sensor might have, as well as slowing down enemies so you can more easily, paint their feet and actually, get solo Explosher kills. Maybe get 90 hits. I was looking at the list of sub-weapons for a long time to figure out which one would be best for Explosher, and I came to the surprising conclusion that Toxic Mist would be the second best sub-weapon for Explosher. Point Sensor works so well for it that it's hard to really argue anything else would be better other than Burst Bomb, which we have established is off the table. Toxic Mist helps it kill, it helps it control space. And Wavebreaker helps it track as well as pressure enemies out of their hidden places by jumping. Jumping is really slow and committal, and it's something Explosher can take care of. And the most important part of jumping, in terms of how it synergizes with the Explosher, is it makes your movement predictable. Explosher wants to know where you're about to go and what you're about to do so it can land consistent hits and kill you. Overall, I actually really like this kit. I think I would play with it all the time as a longtime Explosher main. It definitely works a lot better than Baller did in Splatoon 2. I don't know what they were thinking. And I'm very proud of, I mean, the drawing itself. Because I know a lot of people really liked custom Explosher over vanilla in Splatoon 2, so hopefully this rekindles some of those people's love for the weapon in itself. So that was Special Thing 1 of the night. If you guys, have any thoughts on any of the weapons I presented, I'm gonna keep these tabs open. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk.